Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Off Colony podcast series Rise 8. I'm your host, Philip Holt, and today I'm interviewing a really good friend of mine, Shawn Barber. He's a tattooer and painter and art instructor in Los Angeles, California. Some of the video kind of had to get chopped up and edited, still learning this program, but thanks for tuning in. Check it out. I think we had a pretty good conversation, mainly just talking about art and where he's at, what he's doing, and, of course, some obstacles and some overcoming of those obstacles. So check it out. And once again, if you like this kind of stuff, hit that subscribe button and leave comments. If you guys have any, suggestions or topics or people you think I should interview, leave a little comment. I appreciate everyone that's tuned in to watch this up till now. So thanks for joining me on this journey. Check it out.
Four, three, two, one.
Yeah, there's times where things are going so well, I almost feel like spoiled.
When's the other shoe gonna drop?
Things are just too good. I think I've been so used to things being chaotic that now it's like, things are just nice and like kids are good, and I mean part of it's the kids are grown up.
Absolutely,
more or less they are pretty self-sufficient now, and that just really does take away a ton of, I guess, stress, anxiety, or I can just kind of go about my day and I'm not.
Your responsibility shifted.
My responsibility shifted, but also just like my fear of being sole provider is no longer there. Not like I want to drop dead of a heart attack tomorrow. I still have a 14-year-old, and even when my 14-year-old's 50, I don't want to, give it up. But it just relieves some of the pressure where it's like, well, they're just not as fragile as they used to be,
Sure.
So yeah, just like typical anxieties are like super low now, and
that's great.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I kind of like to start with origin story stuff.
Okay.
Why don't we start off just with who you are, where you're from?
My name is Shawn Barber. I live in Los Angeles, and I grew up in central New York. I'm from a little town called Cortland, New York, 40 miles south of Syracuse. Hometown of Ronnie James Dio.
That's right. I remember you telling me that. That's funny. And what's your, from 20,000 feet, what's your career? What do you do? What do you do for a living?
I'd say I do three things. I'm a painter, I'm a tattooist, and I'm an art teacher.
That's funny.
I mean, what, right? I do. Yeah. I am what I do.
Well, it's funny because I didn't know what you would necessarily identify as. And that was kind of one of the things when I started, brainstorming about how we're going to talk and what we're going to, how I'm going to address this as an actual interview, not just like me and you hanging out talking about whatever.
Sure.
What's your, I guess, identity, like your professional identity? And I was like, well, he's kind of 3 parts tattooer, painter, teacher. So it's almost like, and there obviously there's crossovers, but you really do a fantastic job of being evenly weighted with all 3 in my eyes.
It's a balance. Yeah, it's half my income is, a little more than half my income is art, and a little bit of that art is teaching, and then the other 45% is tattooing. And it's been that way for the most part for, since I started tattooing in 2005.
Right. So backtrack. New York. How old were you when you left New York?
Yeah, I left a few times. I went to I went to Anchorage just out of high school. I went to Southern California a little bit after that. Went back to New York. I left for good in 95. I went to a college in upstate New York, and then I transferred to an art school in South Florida, Sarasota.
What'd you go to Alaska for?
Followed a girl there.
Okay.
Her brother was in the military, and she was tired of being where we were, and yeah, it was a very interesting and depressing time.
Okay. And then from there, California.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
More or
And
less.
went back with a bunch of friends,
Okay.
just trying to figure out a path. You know, growing up, I wanted to be an inker in comics. I was getting tattooed at a young age, but I didn't know anything about the art of tattoos or anything about them. I just wanted them on my body.
Were you making art?
Oh yeah, my whole life.
Yeah.
But it was not childish. It was the pursuit was to work in comic books.
Okay.
Up until I was about 25, and then I went to school for art, and it totally changed.
Okay. And so you
Totally
just
changed.
fell in love with art as a child.
Yeah, drawing things
Yep. Obsessively or just casually?
obsessively.
Okay, I figured.
Yeah,
And so you went to
like
school in New
most.
York for art
I did.
to
Yeah, I
to,
went to
to get into comic book illustration.
I went to. I didn't have. I don't think I had enough tangible skills to do anything as a professional artist. And growing up in a small town where the only artists that I knew of at that time in the late 80s, early 90s were biker tattooists, and art teachers and musicians, you know, and there's nobody else making any money in the arts in any way. So, you know, how can this be a career path?
Right.
I did lots of jobs growing up. I worked in construction for a summer. I worked in a factory for a couple of years. I worked in food service for a long time, you know, making ends meet to facilitate a hobby of drawing superheroes. And then a girlfriend at the time, that girlfriend from Anchorage, she's like, you like art, like you should go back to college. I went to community college out of high school for commercial art, but dropped out after a year and a half just from being a drunk, you know,
No, right.
not being a good student, just being a lost kid partying, you know? Yeah.
And so then you ended up finally landing at Ringling.
Yep. And that changed a lot of things. Not necessarily the institution, but more of the group of people that I was in school with. It really influenced my awareness to the broad range of kinds of arts that there are, and really enthusiastic folks, you know, who were determined to succeed and to improve and to excel and to, you know, to push their craft. And that was motivating and exciting. You know, I had
a
couple teachers who helped me on that path.
Yeah, you had awesome teachers, but you had a kind of a group of super inspiring guys, yeah?
Yeah.
Like
that today still are inspiring folks, you know? Yeah.
People you still
you know, Carl Dobsky.
Mm-hmm. No, I think I kind of know who's in this little group, but you guys had like some heavy hitter kids, like students.
Yeah. Yep.
Who else was in the little?
And everybody was doing their own thing, and you know, for the most part, people have gone on to succeed in their own way. Andrew Jones, I don't know if you know Android.
Yep, I do. Yep.
He's could never imagine what he would have turned his art into. In college, my roommate for a while was this kid Kevin Llewellyn.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Reiniak, he does toys and paintings and illustrations and stuff.
Yeah, I
all
think
different
we
kinds of
we
folks.
linked up with him one year at Basel, didn't we? Is he from like
Yeah,
Ohio? Yeah. Super good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's from Michigan, but he lives in Cleveland.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. He worked in American Greetings, and then he quit doing that to pursue his art full time.
Oh, okay. Um, and that just pushed. I mean, did that motivate everyone just to grind harder, push further, like in a competitive sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah. So teachers that I was in an illustration program, and the teachers that I had at the time mostly worked in editorial prior to teaching. So they were pushing that as a career path, and I fell in love with painting. I'm like, I want to be a painter. And like Kevin and Andrew and some other folks out of college and dropped out of college to work in video games, and that's where the path of a lot of people went. Um, I had no interest in that. I wanted to be a painter, but I knew that I needed to make some money, so I focused a little bit on pursuing a career in editorial illustration, and I did that. I mean, I do it a little bit now, but I did that for a good 15 years.
And that's just commercial
Work for
commercial art.
magazines,
Yeah.
books, advertising, newspapers, a lot of magazine, a lot of print, a lot of print media.
And that has to just be not dead, but pretty close, right? Now,
I have no clue. I think it's a dying medium. I think print media. We have bookstores everywhere here and magazine racks, and you see tons of magazines, but I don't know if they're using illustration. I can't imagine making your career just doing that. I would assume a lot of people who continue to work in illustration probably teach and do other forms of art to facilitate a working life,
Yeah, something to supplement it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it used to
I had
be,
a really hard. It was different. Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rockwell era, you were like a movie star,
right?
And that shifted completely. And now, who knows what's going to happen with AI?
Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know, man.
I mean, I guarantee you know more about it than I do, but I would think it has to be hitting. Well, so like you were saying, like, one group of people, like you were kind of more in the editorial commercial art side, wanting to go into fine art. And then, a group of your friends were like, we're going to go digital. But this is what, 97, 98?
99, 2000.
Okay. So
I got out at 99.
That's when you graduated Ringling?
Yep.
Yeah. So computer tech is exploding, right? Like, it's
the internet's
new
here.
frontier.
Yep. Everything's fresh. Like, at that time, our teachers, we would have a portfolio class, and they insisted that everybody shoot 4x5 slides of their artwork for portfolios. And, at that time, it seemed ridiculous. I can't imagine anybody doing that ever again.
Right.
The quality of a digital camera and a digital print for a portfolio is adequate, beyond adequate.
Right. I wonder, do you think, do you think they still push for physical portfolios, or is it just online now?
I don't know,
Is it just a Google
I don't
Doc?
know. I have no clue.
I mean, I bet a lot of it's just submitted on a Google Doc. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not.
I have no clue.
Yeah.
Back then, the way that I got work is I made print portfolios. I mailed them you would go to Barnes and Noble. You would go through different magazines and books and see what kind of illustration they would use. Write down the art director's name and address of the company and mail them a portfolio. So I mailed out, 50 portfolios with a self-addressed stamped envelope, hopefully getting some of them back so I could resend them out.
Right.
Made some trips to New York City, did some, drop drop bys at magazines to try to get work. Did some conferences with illustrators. Went to the Society of Illustrators. Just trying to be part of a community. And met some cool folks who it's still happening. It's called Icon Illustration Conference,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this was maybe 2001, 2, or 3. I met James Jean there. I met David Casson there. I met just great artists who went to school for illustration and have gone on to blow the mind of the world.
Right. Yeah.
Blow people's minds. Yeah. But everybody's trying to figure out their path.
Do you have any nightmare stories from those eras? Like any pop into a publishing house to try to get a job and just get like any negative feedback, or was it all pretty positive?
Pretty positive. Yeah, nothing negative. No,
Okay.
I had a decent experience.
Okay. Was there high anxiety about doing that, like just showing up, or your confidence just kind of
not being confident, just knowing that I'm not somebody who holds a lot of stress, and I know that as in my mind, as long as I stay focused on the goal, at some point something will pan out, and just not to let up, and just to keep at it, and those tiny little successes will turn into slightly larger successes, which could pan out into bigger successes. But
yeah.
the consistency of them happening is inconsistent. It's just staying the course. And I don't know, I believed in myself enough that I would put the time and energy into it. Not that what I'm doing is great or better than anybody else, just I'm dedicated to doing this, and I'm not afraid to put everything on the line every day to, I'm not going to make money for a month. Oh, well,
Right.
I'm going to put myself in debt a little bit more. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you've been there.
Yeah.
You've taken a lot of chances for your
sure.
career,
Yeah.
to pursue your art and to advance your art. Like,
I don't think I have I definitely don't have the same, I don't know, personality of like you definitely have a more carefree disposition in general, I think. Like,
yeah.
we've been friends for 30 years now. Like, I'm always stressed out,
Sure.
And you know that,
You
So
also
I do
have a different
high
set of
anxiety.
responsibilities.
Yeah, but even just naturally, like it's just ground into me. My mom will talk about all the time how like when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I would be super stressed out that like if I was in someone's car and we were going for a drive, like maybe they don't have enough gas. Like,
Okay.
and I'd be like, are you sure you have, like, I just always, my brain's always done that. I would say that I've just never let it stop me. Like it's always like, to me, like my brain will look at a situation and it'll be like, well, this could go really bad. I remember when I moved to San Francisco, like that was a big thing where it's like, I live in Tampa and, I own a house and I own a tattoo studio and things are going really well. But then, Grime offers me a job to come work with him and Marcus and Utaro. And it's like, you're out there and me and you had talked about it. I'm like, man, there's a lot of benefits to moving to San Francisco right now.
Yeah.
And it could go bad. And so my brain would analyze it. And it's not that I wasn't stressed about it. It was almost like the more stressed I got, the more I was like, okay, this is a huge obstacle. I wonder if I can get over this. And so in a sense, it motivates me. But it's never like a carefree thing. I'm always stressed,
Sure.
But I think rationally, like I'm rationally paranoid, like if I'm going to go camping, I'm going to be like, well, there's bears. How do I deal with this? But I'm not going to let the bears, I'm not going to let the bears stop me from going camping. It's just going to be like risk assessment,
Sure. But you've made those choices and you've taken those chances, and your life and your art's benefited in a lot of ways because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think, yeah, I mean, how would it not be beneficial? It has to. Like, if you try and, like, let's say you don't meet your mark, and I think
Yeah,
most people view that as a failure.
yeah,
Um, I just don't think it is. I don't think it's a failure. I don't know if I believe in failures outside of not doing something because because you might fail
yeah,
and then not doing it. Then you failed. You
for
follow?
sure.
Yeah,
Oh
like
yeah,
I think that's
absolutely,
kind of about
absolutely.
it. Like otherwise, it's well, I don't know. No, I think that is the side that does trip me out about tattooing because it doesn't. You can't really screw up. That's
Well, you can't let your clients know that you screwed up.
that's right. Exactly. Yeah. You have to conceal the failures somehow.
Yes.
Um, yeah, there's more anxiety over that. Everything else seems, like when you assess how bad it could get, it's not worth worrying about, right?
Sure, sure.
And tattooing
Absolutely.
at first was an absolute nightmare for, I mean, I'm sure everyone, but definitely for us.
It was
Um,
a nightmare for me.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
And
it's
I
terrifying.
think because I started so late.
Yeah,
Um
how old were you when you
I
finished
was
your
30
apprenticeship?
I was 35.
Yeah,
I was 36 when I finished it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But I mean,
In a city full of, pioneering,
right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you were
incredible
really
artists,
surrounded.
tattooists.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
And I
mean,
and oh, just from at that time also traveling and getting tattooed by the best in the world and getting advice from all the different opinions, it definitely messed me up. It was too much information all at once, and I didn't grasp, a tenth of it.
mm,
It was very, very confusing. It was very overwhelming.
yeah, I can see
But
that.
I was fortunate to be in that situation, and I was committed to staying the course. It's like, well, if I'm going to do this, I just got to be okay with the fact that things aren't as good as they could be, and this is what it is. And if I don't stay with it, I'm never going to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. But you definitely experienced like sensory overload as far as just a bunch of people telling you different ways to do
Oh yeah.
like how to. I mean, I was in there as well. Telling I
Oh
was
yeah.
giving you advice all the time.
Of,
That was
yeah, you were.
I'm glad you didn't listen to any of it.
Hey, of course I did.
Well, some of it. I mean, I remember being very not. I don't think I was negative with you, um, but I just think your painting is so great that I just couldn't wrap my head around why you wouldn't want to just do that. Um, now of course I'm glad you didn't listen to me. Um, Not that I thought you
It's
were too old or anything. I just,
yeah.
you were 35. I was probably, I don't know, 30 or something.
Hmm.
Um, and I just really looked up to your painting abilities. And in my head, I was just like, man, if I could paint like that, I wouldn't even think about crossing paths.
Sure.
But that's kind of probably more grass is greener syndrome. And
It was a lot of. I guess at the time it was very hard, clear decisions that changed a lot of the course of my life. And my art
how
changed a
so?
lot. And
Like with in general, or are
well, I
you
was
talking
married.
about
I
learning?
was married. I was
Right.
everything. I was
Yeah.
married at the time.
Right.
I was teaching at two art schools. I was doing more commercial illustration. Like
Hmm.
all those things ended.
Right.
Um, yeah, and then just the subject matter of what kind of pictures I could make related to tattooing evolved.
Right.
And now it's expanded into a realm of anything is possible. Like there's no end to the kind of pictures I could make related to everything tattoo. And that's fucking exciting. It's still exciting. Like there's no end to the kind of images I can make images about. It's
Yeah, I don't know if I'm tracking with you. Like you felt like it was limited before?
No, but I was scratching the surface. Like I think I was in the beginning. I had the influences of Jenny Savile, where it's like, oh, this is paint strokes and flesh and
Right.
the body, and okay, well, these are tattoos on the body, and these are tattoos as color and as mark and as texture and as dynamism. It's just it became so much more than copying somebody's tattoo and trying to learn about why is this on the body that way, and that informed my tattooing for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it all has influenced everything, but it just changed, really changed. Learning how to put a tattoo machine together, how to mix pigment, how to make needles, how to deal with customer service, about the history of so many different tattooers in the world, and my memory isn't the best, but there's some stuff in there.
Like tattoo history stuff? Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have a lot. I mean, you've spent more time being obsessed about it than most tattooers, for sure. And you've been exposed to so many tattooers by painting them, for sure.
Yep.
I mean, it seems like that's given you a level of intimacy with a lot of people that you wouldn't normally get.
Absolutely.
Even as a client or a coworker or an employee or any of that stuff, like you get to get deeper because of that, which is, I mean, I don't think anybody else in the world has that, really. Not the way you do.
I would assume some photographers do. I mean, I think traveling tattooers do. I think folks that.
No.
Yeah, there's folks that do.
They might have equal footing with you, but not more. Like you've gotten to dig deep, and that's super cool, man. I mean, it really is.
I feel like I'm just starting.
Well, you're not that old,
No,
so maybe you are.
No.
Yeah. How much have you seen? Like, okay, so you started tattooing. You finished your apprenticeship with Mike Davis, right?
Correct.
In 07?
06, 07, yeah.
Yeah. And then you moved to LA shortly after.
In 2008, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you started off. So how dramatic has the change within the tattoo world been since you've started?
Oh man, I mean, in the world, it's
in your world.
In my city or in the world that I see?
Yeah, either. I suppose.
Because the world's one thing and the city's a totally another thing.
With LA?
I think, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What's it like?
Yeah, the landscape here is, it's a lot of what you see on television, outside of the...
I don't watch television.
Well, neither do I. Outside of the... It's not a reflection of the reality TV shows. It's more a reflection of the tattoos you see on models and famous people who don't really... I don't think they like tattoos. I think they like the idea of putting something on their body because they're told they can't do it. And they get them small and kind of light because they can cover them up with makeup. And they have to have meaning, because this word says everything about where I am at this point in my life of trauma. And they're not really interested in the art of tattooing. Right. That's a generalization about the average tattooed person here, because we have a lot of great clients. We have people that get large scale tattoos and custom work, and those folks are everywhere, but it's not in mass like what you see walking around, you know?
Right.
And I think in the world, in tattooing, it's amazing to see how far the craft has evolved. Not that it wasn't evolving as much as your era, because, you know, the graffiti and illustration and all that stuff coming into tattooing really changed the what people were putting on people's bodies, I think. You
Yeah.
know, from Hardy in the 70s to,
Right.
you know, Marcus, and now it's just it's expanded, and there's a lot of people doing a lot of amazing work.
It's
And
bonkers. It's
it's
so
fucking
crazy.
awesome. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
No, I mean, I
There's
would have
nothing.
never. I remember when I got, when I learned how to tattoo, the guy, that was teaching me, and there were some other guys around too, but it was, they had all started tattooing in, I suppose, the 80s, and
Yeah.
to them it was like sinking ship. Like, I mean, there's probably 6 tattoo shops in Tampa. Like, you should shut it down and move on because there's more
Yeah.
tattooers than there are clients, was kind of the consensus, and that was in 93, 94 was,
Yeah.
the sinking ship of tattooing, all doom and gloom, like this industry's
Sure.
washed up.
Sure.
And it wasn't even like scratching the surface, it's crazy how advanced it's gotten, and
Yeah.
just how much it's changed. It's pretty
Yes.
bizarre. Yeah.
I like that part of it. What I don't, the thing that is sad to see, and what people focus on is the worst aspects of it. It's like, well, everybody's talking about, you know, this shop that has a anesthesia. I don't know how you say that word.
Yeah.
And
Anesthesiologist.
they're knocking somebody out who's getting a generic back piece in 6 hours and paying $100,000. It's like, why are we talking about that? Like, who cares
Right.
about that?
Yeah.
They're getting this generic thing. They can't handle the pain. They don't want to deal with it. They have way too much money, and they're just laughing at everybody else because they can afford to be a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And those, the tattooers that are doing it, they're making money. I'm sure, they're laughing all the way to the bank, but
Would you do it?
Fuck no.
Yeah.
I would never.
Right.
No,
Right.
never. They're alienating the potential clients who can afford to do that.
Yeah, but even if you weren't, like, even if you could do it with 0 repercussions, would you do it?
No.
Yeah, right.
No.
Because integrity and
tattooing it's about the experience. It's about
Yep.
interacting with your clients, about communicating an idea together, and creating something that is unique, and the journey of being a tattooed person. You can't do it.
I mean, if
every
you
day.
want to tattoo a lifeless corpse, like, I mean, I just can't think of anything more boring than spending 7 hours tattooing someone under anesthesia because they just can't deal with being a little mildly uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not saying that tattooing doesn't hurt like holy hell sometimes, because it does, but like it's not so bad you can't inch your way through it,
Yeah, I mean, pain management is a huge part of getting large scale tattoos. It's just figuring out how to break up that time.
Yeah.
But if you want it, we've all done it, and we figured it out in all the different ways that we've done it.
Dude, can you imagine the amount of shame you would have if it came out that, when Kundell did your front, that it was all under anesthesia? Like, I mean, it's just like, oh man, I hope no one, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I can't think of anything more embarrassing than, because I don't know. I mean, I can't view it any way other than cheating.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But that's what people focus on, and they focus on well, this person's charging this much, and
Right.
you know, do you know who this person tattooed? I don't care about any of that. Like, it has
So I've
nothing
got
to
an
do.
interesting thought, and I've never flushed this out, but you're dipped into enough other pools of artists that maybe you can. This is just I've never tried to work this out verbally,
Do
but
it. Do it.
I constantly hear tattooers sit down and lament how expensive someone else in town is. And I don't know. It probably applies to painters and fine artists the same way. But,
Sure.
well, no, I don't think it does. If you found out that I was charging $3,000 an hour and booked for a year, well, you're my friend, so whatever. So I'll change it. If I found out that you were charging $3,000 an hour and booked for a year, I'd be thrilled for you.
Sure.
Like I would, like I'm like I don't understand how he's pulling it off. Somehow he's got this thing figured out, and
Yeah.
like there's nothing about that would make me be like offended or slighted or, dude, thumbs up. I don't want to do it, and
Yeah.
the reason I don't want to do it is because I think it would change my clientele to a point where I don't want to tattoo people that could afford that.
Yep.
Because stereotypically, I don't want to spend 80 hours with some guy that's a complete, like, if you can spend $1 million on a tattoo, I'm not going to enjoy tattooing you. I think that's just where my stereotype is. I like being with
You're dealing with a
collar.
different kind of client.
I want to tattoo the same guy over and over, week after week. And it's really just impossible to afford if you're charging a ridiculous price tag. Like you're
Sure.
I think in general, I could be wrong, but the guys that have the crazy price tags, they're doing a 2-3 hour tattoo on someone once their entire life. That person's never coming back. They got a little banger.
They're also,
it was super expensive, and they move on. And I just don't want to tattoo that way. But if you do, well, thumbs up, man. Like, I'm not offended by your price tag. Do you follow?
Sure.
I think tattooers have a weird venom towards each other over, like, well, you're not worth it. It's like, well, you're only worth what someone pays anyways. So if someone's paying you for it, then you are worth it. And if, it's not a reflection of like your value as a human or anything. It's just your job. And if you sold a painting for $500,000, thumbs up, man. Like,
Sure.
I don't know why I wouldn't be stoked that you sold a painting for $500,000. Like, that's fantastic.
I think part of it is the illusion. I think a lot of folks that are charging over $500 an hour,
yeah,
and stating that they're booked out a year in advance. Maybe they're booked out, but are they working 5 days a week doing that?
No.
Are they tattooing 1 day a week? Like, what are they really doing?
Right.
I think it's a false sense of success.
But I think it's only a false, it's only false hype to people that don't know. I think. So it's like like you're impressing people that don't matter. Like there's a guy locally around here who I think he tattoos out of his house, and I think his daily minimum's $2,500.
Okay.
And it's something weird. Like his first 3 hours are $500 an hour, and then it's like $750 an hour. And you don't know him. You don't know, like, if I said his name, which I wouldn't, you don't know who he is. And if you saw his work, it's nothing's like, you're like, how? And he's booked, and drives a fancy sports car and has a big house and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a tattoo from him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not,
I think it's easy to project confidence if you believe in your own bullshit. But who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Right.
Kim had a client recently who went to another artist who we know from in the world who had a oh, it was like a $1,000 consultation fee. And,
Yeah.
the first session, maybe it was a $3,000 consultation fee.
Yeah.
And that it was for like an upper leg piece.
Mhm.
It'd be a 2-session tattoo, 6 hours. First session's $3,000. Second session's $3,000. So for him just to talk to the guy was $3,000.
But he
I'm
paid
like,
it.
this guy, no, he didn't do it. He didn't get it. He was like, I'm not going to pay that. The guy
But
didn't do it.
he paid $3,000 for a consult.
No, the guy quoted him that.
Oh,
And
right.
yeah, he was like, there's no way I'm going to do this.
Right.
And
so
all I can think is this person's probably doing one tattoo a week.
yeah, right. So in the end, they're not leaving. I mean, they're not making much of a mark, literally. Like they're not leaving an impression anyways. Because if that's your pace, after 10 years, you've learned nothing, you've progressed nothing, and you haven't really made any work to speak of because you've been working 1 or 2 days a month here or there to make enough coin off of, someone that's going to pay it. But you're not really doing your craft. You're spending your time. I don't know what you're actually doing in your free time, but if you want to work, you're not going to charge those rates.
Yep.
Like
there's a difference. There's a difference in trying to advance your craft, and there's a difference in just trying to rate people for $1.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think it's bizarre on both sides. I think it's crazy how much people charge, and I also think it's crazy how much tattooers care what you charge. Like
I guess it's just in our faces. So
yeah,
our tattooists like to complain about things
a lot.
And if you're in a shop environment, you're hearing all the stories.
Right. Yeah,
it's inescapable.
And that's a thing that's probably just vastly different for me is since working at Grimes, I haven't worked in a shop setting. Not really. Even with the old RedLetterOne, we had, our own private rooms for 11 years. So
sure.
There's other people in the building, but you might as well have it's like a little apartment. You've been there, so
yeah.
It's not like we're all sitting there having shop banter all day long. We had some. Now I have none. So the only banter I really get from other tattooers are clients,
okay.
They come
but they see the drama and they talk about it. Clients talk about it.
But that's how I hear about it is the other tattooers come in and they're like, do you believe what this guy's charging? And I'm like, well, I don't. Like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I can understand both sides for sure. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think it's going to keep getting worse? In that crazy like celebrity
I think
charging racket?
No, I think there's a ceiling. I think we're in a high fad of tattooing, and it'll be less. It won't be trendy at some point, and hopefully, it'll go back to just people wanting art on their bodies. Hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Have you had any experiences? I don't know, like tattooing someone that maybe is getting like big stuff, visible stuff, where you're like, you can kind of gauge that they're not the right person to be doing it.
In terms of them not being happy with the outcome or not getting it finished, or what do you mean?
So like having clients where you can tell they're just hyped on the fad and they're the kind of people that 10 years from now are going to be super bummed with what they have.
I don't think I deal with those kind of clients so much.
Okay.
I think, Kim and I have talked about this before. I use myself as an example. Like I got tattooed at 16.
Mm-hmm.
I got Spider-Man, and then I got a tribal lizard at 17, and then I got a superhero that I drew at 19, and then early 20s, I got a tattoo that was somebody else's artwork.
Right.
Like it took me as somebody who wanted to be tattooed, who didn't know anything about tattoos, to get a few to figure out what they were.
Yeah, me too.
I think there's a lot of that. Some people just takes time. They need to get their feet wet, and then either they're in or it's not really for them.
Yeah. I've had a
And
few, not many. I mean, I've tattooed a lot of people for a really long time, I feel. I mean, it's all I've ever done. And I've only had a couple, but the few that I've had where it's kind of hit me.
they didn't want this in the first place, or
No, yeah, well, not that they didn't want it, but that, oh man, I'm trying to think of how to say this without, I'm going to have to cut this out. And it was
geez.
just like, what did you just say? Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't like the responsibility of how wide the audience got. Like, I liked it when tattooing, I just want this for myself.
Yeah.
That was so much,
Yeah.
it was so much easier to do. And I almost, and I was young, of course, too, but I just didn't feel like there was as much responsibility. Whereas now with and I'm super spoiled. My clientele is fantastic. I rarely get, I guess what you would say are interlopers, but it's sometimes it's just jarring when people pop up where it's like, well, wait, how did you get into this? Like, you're not not like you don't fit the thing, but but they don't seem like they fit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem like the kind of, I feel like to get tattoos and to get good ones, you need to have a degree of, I love art and I love this person's art. And I don't give a fuck who says no. I don't give a fuck who isn't going to appreciate it or isn't going to approve of it or is going to approve of it or is going to appreciate it. Like, if you're doing it for yourself purely, I don't feel like you're as at risk of regret. Whereas if you're doing it
for sure
to impress someone, then you've got an issue on your hands. And so that's the problem with it becoming like this huge pop culture thing where, all these 18-year-old, 19-year-old, I mean, dude, I've met so many people that are like, yeah, I guess I should get a tattoo. I don't have any. And it's like, you're 40. You've never thought about it. Don't do it. Like, why would you?
Well, you're different. You're different if you don't have one. Now.
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I suppose it depends on the circle you run in. But I just think it's a weird switch to see people go from definitely the 90s where it wasn't super common as much as it was, it wasn't fringe if you lived in, a punk rock circle or whatever, like everybody had tattoos. But if you went to the airport, and probably if you go to the airport now, most people aren't tattooed, but you can't go to any airport and walk around and not see 50 dudes with sleeves. And that didn't exist at all, 20 years ago.
Well, yeah. And now you're not going to know who did 3/4 of them.
Any of them. Yeah. Almost any of them. Where there was a sweet spot in the 90s where you could run into someone with a tattoo from San Francisco and you could guess who did it.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of guys, and it's like,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Right. That was super cool. But it's just, that's just a weird switch with tattooing with clientele.
Mm-hmm.
Is just having people that, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced it where you've had a guy come in to get a sleeve and you start working on his arm and he says something to the degree of, man, I would have done this when I was 25, 30 years ago, but I waited until it was socially acceptable. Now that everyone approves of it.
Sure.
You were the guys that made our lives hell when we were
I know,
but doing this.
They finally came to the table. Some of them figured it out.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, cautiously though.
Sure.
I think
What's
yeah.
interesting now is seeing folks who we know. Like I know there's the aesthetic of having, and there's some artists who do a really amazing job in doing black work where there's not much open skin, but there's some design element to it. But the trend of just blacking everything out.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's like, are you doing this because you're don't want to deal with laser removal and you're not happy with your past decisions and you're just a different person now and you don't want a reminder of who you were at that time? Like, what's
Right.
the reason for doing that? There's a reason,
Right.
and then folks like, Lucky Diamond Rich.
Nuh-uh.
He's a New Zealand tattooist.
Okay.
He's got, I think, 3 bodysuits. Had a bodysuit and then covered it up and then covered it up again.
Wow.
And he looks fucking awesome. His skin looks so cool.
Just super dense.
Super dense. Super
Crazy.
dense. And really, really interesting looking. But he's on his own trip. He's more of the performance tattooist.
He's a
Book of
tattooer
World
as
Records. He was.
He
He's
was,
retired now. I think he works in like a not construction kind of job.
Okay.
There's a recent documentary on him. Really cool.
I'll check it out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool guy.
But it's not blacked out.
It had been, and then he put white and color over it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting look for sure. I've seen Mick do it a few times with some blackout stuff with some white over it. It's really cool. Yeah. I just assume that people are, I think the people I've known to do blackout stuff, I think they just want to maybe shake the memories off, but also some things are really hard to cover. And unless Marcus or Grime are right there to do it, it's like,
yeah,
there's not many people that can just cover anything. And so you really have to be in the right spot at the right time to even get one of those crazy cover-ups. You can't just have whatever you want. So, black it out and move on. I can understand I can understand how you would open up that can of worms. And then once you open it, it's like, well, where are you going to stop?
Sure.
Like each piece just bleeds into the next piece, into the next piece. And it's like, man, I got a complicated blackout bodysuit.
Sure.
Yeah. So, no. Yeah.
You're
at
a
point,
Caucasian. You're a Caucasian person trying to look like a non-white person.
Well, yeah, like black. Like, it's a crazy look. Yeah. And then, and you have to wonder at what point, and you've dealt with this with clients for sure. And I have, where you get people that have, not like I'm going to go around diagnosing people, but I definitely have clients where it's like, well, man, you probably have OCD for real. Like,
oh yeah.
You keep coming back and you keep coming back for more every square inch, every little, and it's and they want everything finished and done. And it's like, I think it's beautiful. So let's facilitate the need. But, sometimes those
are my favorite clients, honestly.
They can be great, man. Like it's, they just want to get tattooed 3 days a week.
Unless they're trying to micromanage what you're doing.
Yeah, which I've never really had anyone that has that OCD compulsion that's not pleasant to work with, But I have had some where I'm like, hey, maybe take a little break, maybe take a little breather, let
your skin breathe
off, let yourself heal, like go take a nap, because sometimes it's, they get frantic to like get it done as, it's
sure.
Like, yeah, and you want to work, but then there's a point where you're like, well, it's a person, so I don't want to take advantage of them too much. I had one lady.
You could put some anesthesia in them.
I know, right? No way, man. I had one lady where it's like I made her cut her sessions back because she would do like 6 to 10 hours a day, 5 days in a row.
Wow.
And then
Fuck.
an absolute warrior. I think the first time she
Wow.
did it, I think she did 50 hours in Monday through Friday.
Fuck.
And it was just like, dude, like you're going to have to slow
What
it
part
down.
of what parts of the body?
That was from her knees to her neck, full back.
Fuck.
And it was just like, look, you gotta stop, because what's going to happen, you're going to go into shock. You're going to leave, go to your hotel room, have a heart attack. And I'm going to be the one that pushed you into doing it. You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to look at.
There's a limit the body can handle, for sure.
Yeah. Right. But I've had a couple people do like really crazy sessions like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty exhausting for everyone involved. You know, I don't like doing it anymore. I haven't done anything like that in a really long time. I don't have the attention span for it anymore. And I think it's probably pretty dangerous. So I stopped doing it.
Yeah. I know, Philip Blue does a lot of a back piece in a couple days where he's designing for it to have open skin and big areas of, it's designed to be put on the body in an efficient way where you're not over traumatizing the skin.
Right. Yeah.
But the client's committing to getting tattooed for a few days.
Right. Yeah. He's such a wizard of leaving huge open areas that, just obviously don't take any time. Just outline and it's done. Yeah.
Yep.
In the realm of obstacles and things with learning how to tattoo, what do you think has been like what do you think's been like your biggest, like if you have if you can do that? I know you've probably had a bunch, but what was the hardest part of staying the course and not giving up on your apprenticeship or starting or moving to LA or like whatever?
I think knowing that the quality of the work isn't what the perception could be. And I think at times the application it hasn't been this way in a long time, but having like a bad heel, you get one bad heel in a few months. It's like, oh my God, I just ruined this person's body, or which isn't the case, but you think that I think that, oh my God, I shouldn't be doing this because this person had a reaction or something. Like those mind fucks happen, It's been a while, but that has tripped me up here and there where it not second guess the choice to continue, but like just trying to figure out how to make that not happen. I think other obstacles are, I think because I've been an illustrator for so long, facilitating clients not great ideas and giving them tattoos that they desire. It's like, well, if this is what you want, I'm going to do the best I can with this idea, but I'm not advancing my craft in any way by doing it. I'm in service to you and facilitating something that you desire, and I think to this day, I still have not put myself in a place for tattooing to be my art, if that makes sense.
100%. Yeah.
Where I think a lot of my peers who I look up to and friends like yourself have done that, and they've dedicated their lives completely to it. And I know that my pursuit is in being a painter who is obsessed with making pictures about tattooing. Like it doesn't prevent me from wanting to do it, because I do get those clients and projects that are really inspiring, and I get to play and make art on the body, It's just a balance. I think that's been the hardest thing, is the balance of 30% of the time making art and 70% of the time providing a service.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I don't, I mean, I'm not going to get into a long-winded talk about tattooing not being art, but I don't think like when I always am just facilitating a craft in my head. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever put anything personal into it per se. For whatever reason, I just get clients that come to me and what they need seems to typically be up my alley, you know.
Okay.
But I think it's like I think I'm just like lucky in that regard. I don't know if maybe some of it's location. Like Tampa's not like a super saturated market. There's everybody's from somewhere else, so everybody's kind of like a transplant. So in that sense, it's kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
different. It's a different city than everywhere else I've worked. And I'm not saying there's not competition here. There's gobs of amazing tattooers all over town. But for whatever reason, clients seem to come and just, like I'll give them whatever they want, whether it's up my alley or not. And it just seems to more often than not be something that I can play with and have fun with. But I think I really
Are you
enjoy
turning work
trying to,
away?
um, only for scheduling purposes. Like there are
Okay, but
people
you're not getting requests of things that you would just you're like I'm not the guy for this.
yeah, no, every time I do consults, I get a couple of those. So I don't do
Okay.
consultations very often. And all of it just depends on how booked my schedule is. So it seems that I do about 2 or 3 consultation dates a year. And every time I do that, I'll book up 10 or 12 people per day.
Oh
And
wow.
depending on how big their projects are, I can book out really, like it could be a short booking. If I have 12 clients that all want small tattoos, well, I'm going to have to do another consultation date in a few weeks, But if
Sure.
everybody shows up and they all want to get 2 sleeves, it'll book me out for quite a while. So it really just depends on
Sure.
how that day goes. But every time I do those consultation dates, I turn down, I'd say 20% of the people, um,
Okay.
because they want a thing that I just don't do well. Like they want, black and gray portraits of family members. And it's just like, well, I'm not going to do that. Like there are guys that specialize
Yeah.
in it that are super good at it. If I did
Yeah.
anything, it would be subpar. It's not that it doesn't interest me. Like I wish I was good at that. Like if I could do, well, I don't know if I don't care about it enough to put in the homework. Like
Mm-hmm.
like I don't sit around and draw portraits of family members. And I think that's probably how your brain has to work to get good at it. It's not interesting to me.
Sure.
So if it was just a talent that I could just like magically have, like, yeah, sign me up, like it'd be awesome, but I'm not going to work at it. It's just
Mm.
not where I want to put my time. And so when that stuff
Sure.
pops up,
Sure.
I'll send it off, to, there's other tattooers in town that I'll just send them to. And then occasionally I turn people down because of their schedule. Um, Life's pretty
Okay.
good right now. And so I refuse to work weekends.
Oh,
Um,
great.
and maybe one day that'll change, but my wife works Monday through Fridays and I like to spend my weekends with her. So
Yeah.
I don't work weekends ever.
Yeah.
Um, and so sometimes people are like, well, I got to get tattooed on a Sunday. And it's like, well, then you got to get tattooed by someone else.
Yeah.
Now, if all of a sudden my book gets really thin, I'll start tattooing on the weekends, but I haven't had to do that in like 10 years. So, um, but yeah, I think those are the only reasons I really turn people down. I like to sit down
Okay.
with people and find out what they want to look like. Like I like sitting down with people and finding out like what their end goal is. And even if I'm not going to be the one to complete the end goal, like how can I help you
Mm-hmm.
get to your end goal?
Sure. Sure.
Like when people come in and they've got like a bunch of mishmash stuff on their arm and they wish they had a sleeve, it's like, well, let's fill the gaps. Like it's not that it's necessarily super interesting to just do little
Sure.
gap
Sure.
fillers, but if that's what makes you look like you have a sleeve and you wish that's what you look like I'm happy to do it. I'm not going to
Absolutely.
put it in my
Yeah.
portfolio. I'm not going to post pictures of it online, but I enjoy doing it. Like, and it's almost always a super fun experience because some of that stuff has no pressure. You know, I feel like that way about
Yep.
cover ups too. There's no pressure because someone's covered in garbage and they just want anything that looks cool. So it's like sky's the limit. We can make it look cool, and now there's no pressure. You know, like I know they're going to
Yep.
leave
Yep.
happy. I just want people to leave happy. And then, you know, when it comes to like painting, that's more personal. You know, I feel like that's the side where I get to like just do whatever I want and not have like the commercial illustrator brain, which is, I don't know if that's the right term or not, but I feel like tattooing is more commercial work.
Well, you can't make a tattoo on. I mean, you could tattoo yourself.
Yeah. Well, and I don't get people that come in and they're just like, hey,
do whatever you want, man.
Right. And I know a lot of tattooers thrive with that. I don't. Like I don't thrive with zero direction. Because I just don't, I mean, and if I know you really well, like maybe if it's a client, and I guess I've done that where, you know, we've done a sleeve and then maybe the second sleeve I put a little more of my voice into. And then when that's done, they're like, hey, I want to do my back. What do you think I should do? Usually by that time, I've spent enough time with them and I know what they've done where I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
you get an understanding of where they're coming from.
Yeah. And then it's like, I got a good idea. Like, and then I get to, you know, and then I get to tell them like, hey, I've always wanted to do this. You know, I got a guy right now that's doing that where he had 2 sleeves that were cover ups. And then at the end it was like, well, yeah, let's do a big Kieran. Like I've always wanted to do a Kieran back piece. And he's like, yeah, man, like do whatever you want. So it does happen, but super rare, you know. And then of course it's so much more fun when all of those stars align. Then it's, you know,
sure,
it's pretty sweet. But it's
sure.
I've tattooed a long time. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah,
yeah. So I think, you know, probably the last question that I'm even personally, you know, curious
we
about.
We can talk about anything, man.
What if you had finished your tattoo apprenticeship and decided that's not for me? Like, I don't want to do it. It's just too much. These tattooers are too cranky, too hard to deal with. I don't want to deal with it anymore. What would your path have been?
I mean, I probably would have went back to teaching a little bit more so in an institution, and tried to do a little bit more commercial illustration and continue. I mean, my painting hasn't slowed down. My career as a painter, tattooing is, you know, it's helped facilitate the reality that I see with most folks who make art and show in galleries is a lot of people, this is their only sole source of income, and we need to make a living, you know, and I want to make pictures that I want to make. This is generalization. But I need to make a living, so I'm going to make things that I know are going to sell. I don't have that mindset at all with my paintings.
Because you're funding yourself with tattooing.
You know, I have a community of collectors and people that commission things that I get by. Don't make a lot of money, but I'm in debt, but not in significant debt. I'm in debt, and I'm lucky that some things sell. But by and far, when I do an exhibition, I'm making exactly what I want to make. And by and far, when I do, there's no regrets in that. There's no, it's very freeing to be able to just produce things, you know, and my obligations are to it's very free myself in trying to do the best job I can in trying to make a painting that makes sense for that subject matter. Myself in trying to do the best job I can, and that's a nice place to be. You know, I think if I wasn't tattooing for that subject, maybe I would make more pictures with the mindset of trying to sell them. Like, oh, I have to do this kind of image and this kind of image because I know the general public might buy that a little more so. I had some galleries earlier on that a gallery in San Francisco who I stopped working with after a while. They're like, oh, you should paint more naked ladies because that's what sells. I had some galleries earlier on more naked old men. Like I'm gallery in San Francisco. It's not why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this. It's not about that at all. Because that's what sells. And I just painted more naked old men. Like I'm. It's not why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this to. It's not about that at all.
Right. So if you had to, like, let's say that for whatever reason, the way your collectors moved, the only way that you could fund yourself was painting bowls of fruit. I mean, would that bother you? You think you get bored out of your mind? Because you seem like the kind of person that could be. I feel like you'd find enjoyment in it, regardless.
Sure, I could do it, but that would be a commercial job, and then I would make my art on the side.
Right. Yeah, so you'd still be painting the same, anyways. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have physical limitations? Like I know the last time I saw you, you were having massive hand problem, like your wrists and hands were really bothering you?
I have hand and shoulder issues. Shoulder more than hand. Lots of physical therapy. Now I'm doing strength training. Understanding when I'm overworking and exercising and doing things to help alleviate the pain. But I have a real close friend here who has helped me and given me enough tools to stretch and do things for myself so I can keep things at bay. And when things are real bad, then I get help.
Okay.
You find his philosophy is, say it again.
I was just going to say,
his philosophy is
the delay.
Yeah. His philosophy is only in extreme cases, you shouldn't get surgery, like carpal tunnel surgeries, shoulder surgeries. Like you can manage this pain and you can do things to help your body heal and to make certain choices and to exercise to make it manageable. And that's where I've been. Yeah.
Do you find more physical difficulties with tattooing or painting?
If I'm tattooing a lot, yes, but I'm not tattooing a lot. So I have many challenges when I'm painting, especially if it's closer to an art show opening, or deadlines for things, or just I'm so inspired to work that I'm not going to stop working. I just have to stretch and ice and use things to help me manage that pain. But I'm not going to stop.
It really surprises me how hard it is physically to make art all the time. Like it's just one of those things I would have never. You've had
some major issues.
I had more in my 30s than I have now. Like I'm pretty fairly tip top now. Like I'm reluctant to say that because I know there's, an injury around the corner, but 30s were really hard. And I think it was just, for one, I would sit down while I was tattooing. And then, I was just frantically trying to learn. So I would tattoo all day, every chance I could get, raising 4 kids, single income home. So it's just like, I just worked, like I never turned anything down. And then I wanted to paint, I wanted to learn how to paint. So, I would paint almost every night. And I would usually fall asleep painting, and I would usually wake up and start painting until I had to go to work. And it was just too much sitting down. So I had massive back problems.
Yep.
And it I mean, it's the most painful thing I've ever gone through for probably about a decade. And I just never
Yeah.
sit down anymore. So like, even just doing
Did you ever have
this-
surgery?
No, no, no. But even doing this is like, this is the longest I've sat down, you know,
Oh, wow.
like I just don't ever sit down.
Okay.
The only spot that I can't figure out how to tattoo on someone is just like right here, like just right on the top of the deltoid.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I can pretty much just work all the time standing up. And then,
Okay.
so I tattoo all day, which I don't tattoo crazy long hours anymore, but I work a 7-8 hour day. And then, if I want to go home and draw or paint, I can sit down because I've been standing all day. And then it doesn't, affect my back. But, when I was, every waking moment was spent sitting down, hunched over, bad posture. That was a nightmare, And, I have to work out I have to work out as often as I can just to stay flexible.
Sure. I think that's
Yoga's
helped.
huge.
Okay. I think that's what's helped me the most the last few years is I was somebody who never really exercised, and now I'm lifting weights 3 days a week and doing like a workout boxing training 2 days a week.
That's awesome.
And I feel strong and young, not young, but I feel like I feel alive,
And I'm going to bet that's 5 workouts a week. And I'm going to bet you always stretch before you do it. Right?
No, I don't.
Do you not? You don't stretch?
No.
Dude.
No.
Dude, you got to get on that. Yeah, you got to stop that.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing for me is
I
won't work out without stretching. Like I'm just too old and I'll get injured.
Okay.
And most of most of what I do is
stretch.
train jujitsu, and people are trying to hurt you. So, like
the weight training
they have a stretch.
The weight training they have a stretch before.
You're not stretching before you box. Yeah, you got to get that fixed. Well, I mean, if you're good, you're good.
I'm doing this all day long. So my shoulders just,
Yeah,
I'm just doing this all day long.
You sit down when you paint?
80% of the time.
Yeah.
Unless I'm doing something large scale, and then I'll stand. But I'm sitting a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it really hard to paint standing. Like I don't feel like I have very good control. I started using like a maul.
Yeah.
And that helps for sure.
Yep.
But no, I just feel, I don't think, it just doesn't do what I want it to do.
Yep. You got to work bigger.
I know.
And then you can stand.
I have such a hard time like loosening up. I need to, I hate it. Every time I look at anything I've done, I'm just like, why did I detail everything again? Like I try so hard not to, and I just use.
You can't help yourself.
I just, they got this tweaker in me, It sucks.
It's all good.
What have you been working on painting wise? You got an exhibit coming up?
I do. Yeah, I have a couple. I'm doing. What am I doing? A couple commissions. I did a commercial job a couple weeks ago, and then Carl Dobsky and I have an exhibition in June at Copro again.
Cool.
So I have 7 pieces going, and I want to start, I think, 5 to 7 more.
More tattoo portrait?
Yeah, all tattoo related. I did, like, what do I have going on now? This thing, a little signage from the early 1900s to the present, different tattoo shop signage.
I can't. Yeah, I'm sure it'll show up on the video, but it's all pixelated.
Okay. I did it's a broad range. I'm doing like a cityscape of shamrock tattoo on Sunset.
Cool.
Went to Israel last year with a group called Healing Inc. So I'm doing a painting of the oldest physical tattoo shop in the world. Razook tattoo. I'm doing a couple paintings of that. What else am I doing? A handful of things. Yeah.
Exhibits just you and Carl?
Just me and Carl, yeah.
Yep. Because I went to your opening with
Coro and Carl. Yep.
Right. Same gallery? Yep.
Yep.
That was probably 2 years ago now, huh?
It was like the opening after the pandemic.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, people were still freaked out. And you surprised me. You didn't tell me. It was awesome. Right. Yeah. It was awesome.
Well, maybe I'll surprise you again, but don't count on it. June will be busy.
Yeah.
But
we're doing a group art show, like a memoir group art show pop up at Raking Light Gallery in March.
Oh, cool.
So we got to make a couple things for that. I've been teaching in that gallery about once a month.
At Raking Lights?
Yep. I have a good group of folks that have been consistently taking painting classes with me. So I've been doing that.
That's awesome. How's their new space?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's big. It's open. It's in a neighborhood with foot traffic and parking and food. And yeah. Is
it close to where it was or a different neighborhood altogether?
No, it's in West Hollywood. Okay. It's just east of La Cienega on Santa Monica. Okay. So it's a 30-minute walk from our house. It's a 10-minute drive.
Okay. And I feel like where me and Edu and Hoyer did, was that Silver Lake?
That was Echo Park. Yep.
Echo Park. That's right. Yeah.
So it's same area.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a lot closer to us, and cool. I could walk there, Yeah. It's pretty amazing for the convenience.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you do that once a month?
Just about, yep.
Yep. And what are you teaching?
Whatever people want. We did pet portraits last week. Okay. We did fruit and hands. We did skull and hands. We did skull. We did flowers in a skull. Like, what do you want to learn? Let's do it. I'm asking people
just like
what they
one
want.
shot, kind of alla prima.
6 hour.
Oh,
it's a
cool.
6 hour workshop, and we've been working from reference. So I supply photos, or they send me photos of their own, and I prep them and do a demo and an overview, and then everybody starts, and then I help them with their paintings as I'm working.
That's awesome.
It's been good. It's been good. Really
I wish
good.
Something like that existed around here.
There's got to be something.
If there is, I don't know about it. Tampa's pretty void of a lot of art. So, and there's probably stuff around. Nothing I know. Different climate here for sure. So,
yeah. It's not all tattooers either. It's people that work in makeup and illustration, and I've had a 16-year-old kid. I had, all awesome. Ages. Yeah, it's been good.
That's awesome. How many people per class ish?
I think the average is 6.
Okay. Yeah.
I've had as few as 4 and as many as 9.
Okay.
Oh, so it's cool, a small group.
You said you have 2 shows coming up, right? Or did I hear you wrong?
Well, the group show, the Raking Light Memoir group show.
That's it. Gotcha. Right. I think I missed that. When's that?
I think March.
Oh, that's soon.
Either February or March. I gotta clarify. I think it's March.
Yeah. It's almost December. Is it December? No, not yet, but it's close.
It's pretty much December.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody I've talked to has been in this weird time warp where we're not really sure what happened to this year.
Yeah.
I think I could guess you're in the same boat where it's like this year
time is flying.
Yeah. It's kind of insane.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume one day we're just 80, like tomorrow.
Well, hopefully we make it to that age.
Yeah, we'll make it. No reason not to. All right. Thanks for taking time to do this little conversation bit. And
absolutely, it was fun.
Yeah, it's been fun to catch up. So one of these days,
good to see your face.
I swear one of these days I'm going to come out and work.
Do it.
I know.
Do
I
it.
need to. I just need. I need.
We have
more
a spare.
time and
We
none
have a
of us
spare
it.
bedroom. You can stay
Do you?
with us. Yeah,
All right.
man.
Can I bring Sarah?
Yeah. Come visit.
Yeah, we need a trip. I don't know if the last time. I think the last time me and her took a trip was to do the Raking Lights exhibit.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that was a great show.
She's thanks. She's almost done with grad school.
Okay.
She's got 2 more classes and she's done with grad school, and then we can kind of get back to jumping around and traveling a bit. Yeah. So it'll be exciting
come visit.
when that happens. So, all right, man. Yeah, maybe we will actually come out in July or June. But I won't tell you. I'll just surprise you.
All right. Do it.
All right, man. Good to see you.
All right. Love you, Phil.
Yeah, love you too.
Have a good day. Bye.